the idea of like, that's not my life is something that is just built in, right? And so sometimes I say it out loud to myself, like, that's not my life. And sometimes I just know it.
My guest today spends 3 months a year living in Europe, owns her home, works 30 hours a week at a career she loves, and has built a life that is genuinely beautiful, thoughtfully, strategically, and without spending more than she needs to. And we're getting into exactly how she does it, the mindset and the actual numbers. Nicole breaks down exactly what a 3-month stay in Spain actually costs: flights, rent, food, and all. She shares how she and her partner built a life where either one of them could afford everything on their own, and why that decision changes everything.
I don't want to buy a house that if something happened and it was just me, that I would have to leave.
Plus, her enough philosophy, the mindset that lets her spend $12,000 on a kitchen renovation instead of $50,000 and feel better about it. And why she says the real secret to affording your dream life is simpler than you think.
But I think most people don't take a pause and ask themselves that question and then answer it honestly.
I'm Ashley, certified financial planner, founder of The Fiscal Femme, and I'm asking the question everyone is already wondering. How do people actually afford their lives? This is How Do You Afford This? Welcome to the show, Nicole. We were talking about this last week at lunch, that it's going to be so much fun to record a podcast with a bestie because we can just chat. So I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So I want to get right into it. You live in Europe for 3 months of the year. You take 2 other trips. You own your home. You work 30 hours per week in a career you're passionate about. How do you afford this?
Yes.
Tell us.
Big
please.
question. That does sound pretty great. And it is great. I would say that I prioritize what is important to me and also have learned to ignore what other people or society think I should be prioritizing. And I would say that's at the heart of it.
Huge. Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to talk all about that. Before we get into that and dive into the numbers, you've crafted this beautiful life where it's clear travel is a top priority for you. What drives your love of travel?
Yeah. So there's 2 things. One thing I will say, I think is important for me to say for transparency, and it actually is probably a big part of what you're asking me now, is that I don't have children. And I'm not saying that if you do, that this life isn't possible, but it changes things and it makes things, you have to approach it differently. But as you know, my child-free status was not by choice. And so when you ask me about what drives my passion for travel, a big part of it was understanding, or when we learned that that path of parenthood wasn't an option for us, taking something that we loved, which was travel, and going like full force with it and figuring out, like, really leaning into our consolation prize of location independence and how we can live that life fully, really drove us to the whole like 3 months abroad and that kind of thing. So that combined with, I've always loved traveling, right? As a kid, I was a big reader. So stories about other places, other people, other cultures, just this opening up of a world. Like, there's so much outside of just where I am that I've always known I wanted to travel. But then I would say life circumstances in my adult life made it like, oh, this is going to be my life now. Like, if I can't have A, then this is B, and I'm going to, just lean really hard into it.
And when you stay somewhere for 3 months, like you're talking about being in a new place with the people, like you really get a feel of the culture, the people. You are a local, essentially.
Yeah, we try to be. We try to do it in that way. I mean, we don't own a place abroad, and we do go different places each year. So, there's that. It's not like it's a second home, but we do try to make decisions about how we travel and how we bring ourselves into the community in a very thoughtful way, so that we're not just like tourists taking over.
Right. It's a win, and it's a win for you. And you mentioned this kind of in the intro question, but as your besties, something I've always admired about you is how clear you are about what you want your life to look like. Even just in your answers, you can hear the thoughtfulness and the way you think through it. You're clear, and then you strategically built it, right? And that is so inspiring. How have you gotten so clear on what you wanted? Like, do you have a process for it or a way you think through it?
Honestly, this is going to sound trite, but I ask myself, right? Most people don't do that. Like, most people, like it goes back to this beginning thing where it's like about other people's expectations and societal expectations and what defines success and what makes a good life, and everybody's answer to that is different, but I think most people don't take a pause and ask themselves that question and then answer it honestly and not think about what they're supposed to want for their life, or the steps they think they're supposed to take, or the path they think they're supposed to take. So I appreciate that compliment, and it means a lot to me to hear that from you. And you've said it to me before. And I just think there's no real secret other than asking myself that question and answering it honestly without worrying about anybody else other than my partner in life,
Right.
because, it's us together.
He
Yeah. Yeah.
matters. His opinion matters.
Opinion matters, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it's for like thinking about it, maybe for a lot of us, it's hard to take the layer off where you're like, how much of what I want is because of what other people
Hmm.
think. And then I think too, maybe there's like an iterative part of it. I'm just thinking back one day, I didn't like listen to a podcast in the car. I just was thinking and I thought of you and I was texted you after. I'm like, oh, this is what you mean about like giving yourself space to actually think about things and not have things like always inundating you. But maybe it's like, okay, I think this might be what I want. Let me test it. Let's then live it a little bit. And then is that working? Do I let you know?
Absolutely.
Maybe because sometimes it feels so big to figure out what you want in one sitting, or
Absolutely.
one session.
Absolutely. And when I say I ask myself that question, it's not as if I had the exact answer, like the exact plan in my answer. It was more just this idea of like, what do I want for my life? And I'm talking about like, a long time ago, I'm asking myself that question. And it's like, I know that I want location independence. I know that I want freedom of time. I know that to me, success has more to do with how I get to spend my days and less to do with like the number that's in my bank account, those kinds of general things. And then once you have that sort of overarching picture and some bigger ideas, then you kind of work backwards into making it happen, right? So it's like, well, if I want this, then back up, back up, back up. What do I need to start doing now to get me to that point in personal life, in career, like whatever you're talking about? So, and, we didn't start by going away for 3 months to a single place. We went, you know, years ago, we did a month. We went for 1 month and we were like, oh, this was great. And it wasn't enough time and we wanted to do more, that kind of thing. And then one year we jumped around to a few different places within those 3 months. And that actually felt like a little bit too much. Like we couldn't like relax into it. So then we're like, let's go to one place a month. And then we're like, maybe we want a sweet spot of two. So we haven't like figured out the exact formula for us either yet. For a long time, we were 100% sure that we wanted to buy a place somewhere in Europe and we just had to find that place. We haven't ruled that out, but we also have started to like loosen up how we think about that and what it has to look like. And it doesn't necessarily have to be spending on buying and that kind of thing. So to your point, it wasn't fully formed when I answered that question, but it was more just like honestly asking myself that question and honestly answering it, I guess I should say.
And it sounds like guiding principles. So then if you get a work project that it's like, oh, this will take up my time freedom, it guides what you say yes to, what you lean into, what you say no to.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. And it leads me to another observation I've had as a lucky insider in your life is that once you know what you want, and this is again like with the societal expectations and what other, like you mentioned, the number in your bank account isn't reflective of success in and of
Yeah.
itself. So once you know what you want and you go after it, it becomes
Mm.
enough. And there's like this satisfaction that you have in a world where it can feel like it's never enough. I think that's a huge life unlock.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time
How,
you said that to me, which was maybe a while back. I realized, it's like, I've never actually used that word. Like, I don't think I ever defined it in that way, but it was like, oh yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
and like social media, I think makes it really hard not to compare. So does seeing what your friends are doing and some of the things that you're doing, right? Location freedom, time freedom, they're not what everyone's
Mhm.
doing. And so if something is less conventional or there's pressures and comparison, how do you overcome that? How do you handle that? How do you stay with the course of what you know you actually want?
Yeah. I mean, I will say it's not always easy. So, we made some big decisions based on the idea of enough. So, we bought a house that was significantly cheaper than the mortgage we were approved for because what we found, we were like, oh, this works for us. Like, this is enough, right? And we love our house and it's, a quarter of the size of some of my friends' homes, but it doesn't matter to me, right? So, that same thing with the car, right? We bought a Honda Accord hybrid, right? We were buying a new car and we could have bought something that was cool or fun. And we're like, we live in cities, we drive our car whenever we leave the city, which is not often, right? Like, and and we paid it off quickly, and now all we have is to pay insurance. So we did make some big enough, like, decisions. And I understand the feeling like that you're mentioning with the whole idea of like with social media or with friends. And that still happens to me, like I can find myself scrolling on Instagram, which I try not to do too often, but and being like, "Oh, that place is so gorgeous," and, like, how much I would have loved that. But I don't know if I would call it a mantra or if I would just say it's like a knowing in me, but the idea of, like, that's not my life is something that is just built in, right? And so sometimes I say it out loud to myself, like, "That's not my life." And sometimes I just know it. Like, when I see something, it doesn't matter. Like, "Oh, that's beautiful," and then I keep scrolling because that's not my life. Yeah, and I think it comes like it's something, it's almost like you practice, right? So I said we, like, bought this house. It's an older home, it's over 100 years old, it needed some work. We waited 5 years to, like, make the kitchen something that we loved, and even then, we could have spent $50,000 gutting the entire kitchen, new cabinets, like, done it all up, but we decided we cared more about creating a feeling. And I think so we did our kitchen, we just like did some updates so that it felt a certain way. And we spent $12,000 instead of $50,000, right? And I think that that is part of that mindset, this idea of like, whether you're talking about a kitchen or anything else, it's like, how do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to feel day to day, month to month, year to year? And of course, not every day you feel this way, but it's building a structure around yourself that supports not just what you want, but how you like what you want your like your days to look like and everything, but how you want your days to feel. Like what is it your so when I walk into my kitchen, I love it. And we cook a lot. So I use the kitchen as an example because we spend a lot of time in there. And it's not the Architectural Digest chicken kitchen, but or the chicken.
There's a lot of chicken being made.
Chicken being made. But it is something that makes me smile and makes my partner smile, and we love it. And so just kind of thinking that way too, right? So when you see something beautiful on Instagram or you walk into your friend's house who they did spend the full 1.5 million, right? Like, and that's great because that's their goal and that's what makes them happy. When you see those things, you can start to flip that into more like, oh, what do I love about this so much? Like, how does this place make me feel? Oh, I love that they did XYZ. Maybe I can do something similar in my home and have that same feeling. Like you can be, I don't know, creative in how you think. None of that is to say that it's easy. I do understand it, but come up with a phrase, something that you can say to yourself to just kind of pull yourself out of it because that's the hardest part. And once you get good at that, then you are just making the decisions that are right for you based on your life.
That's not my
Yeah.
life. I love that mantra.
Thank you.
And I can't like most, I don't know if I can say most if someone's fact checking me, but I feel like a lot of people get the most mortgage they can get
Oh, yeah.
or do the biggest kitchen reno they can, right? And you consciously have created so much space for the travel, for even for the kitchen
Right.
reno, right? And curious, just because you were talking about the feeling, which your kitchen is gorgeous, and you do get that feeling, and maybe like talk, like if you're open to sharing what that feeling is and how you think that would have been different. Would it be different if you spent the 50K?
Yeah.
Or, like, how much in feeling cost are we
Oh, yeah,
talking?
that's so interesting. I've not thought about it like that, like feeling cost. So
I
yeah, right,
invented
I
it right
know, right?
now.
This is amazing. Okay, so essentially what we were what we decided was like, okay, what do we what is our goal with this kid? What do we do? Why are we doing this? Right? Like, why are we updating it? We're like, well, we want it to feel like exciting to be in there. We want to like enjoy ourselves when we're cooking. We want a like more light in there. We want the same feeling we have when we travel, which is like most of our travel, a large portion of our travel is in Europe. Like we want to feel that like touching Europe when we're not there. And so we took this approach of just like choosing elements to change that made us feel like we were in this little awesome kitchen in an old home somewhere like in the countryside of like Italy or something with like terracotta tiles and like that kind of thing. And we put a skylight in. So that was something that was an extra cost, but was important to how we feel when we're in there to walk into that. 'Cause, I live in a city. I live in the historical part of a city. It's a little row home on an adorable little tree-lined street, but it can be dark, right? Because it's like this little historical tiny thing. And so putting that in was a choice to spend extra money, but it was because it felt really good to us and that was important. So like when I say things about how I make these decisions on what to spend on and whatnot and all that, I don't live in or navigate in like this feeling of like longing, right? I spend money. I just spend money on things that I important to me and I think about how they make me feel in my life. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yes. And do you think that you would have enjoyed it more if you spent more or not necessarily?
no. I don't think I would have enjoyed it. Absolutely not would I enjoy it more if I had spent more. I think there's probably from like a utility standpoint, I might have gotten a little more out of it, like some added counter space. Like that would have been nice because we cook a lot, right? But the cost of that wasn't like I just didn't want to, like, I didn't care that much, right? And so,
Right.
yeah, I certainly wouldn't have. And there's almost a joy in the creative way we made it be what we wanted it to be without just gutting it and like having someone come in and tell us exactly what to do, right? Like we researched the tiles. We went and got all these little paint chips and just painted our cabinets the exact color that we wanted. And, we did that. And I think that's another thing, this idea overall of like being able to think about, a DIY mindset without it being like a scary thing. I don't think everybody needs to go into everything, whether you're talking about a kitchen reno or just like, any other service in your life. But if you're talking about ways of like thinking about money, and it's just, I think people think they can't do stuff, but without taking a moment to reflect on whether they could try it themselves. And so for us with the kitchen, it was like, let's sit down and like make this fun, right? Like, what could we do ourselves? And even just the using of Pinterest, those things. So I wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Right.
I would have enjoyed it less, I think, if I spent more because I would have been just sort of like, like, oh, just do it, whatever, make it all happen. Yeah.
Outsource. Right. There's something in the relishing and in the dreaming, kind of same with
Yes.
travel. And I also love what you shared about going into a friend's house, like using whether it's like the tinge of comparison or the tinge of jealousy as like oh, let me get creative with this. What can you
Yeah.
do? I
Yeah.
love it. All right. So to the numbers of your
Yeah.
travel, just because, and also to your point on encouraging people to see what they could actually do. That's something that you nudge me to do in my business all the time when you're like, maybe you should try this. Like, I bet you could do this, right? So you really do live this. And it, like you said, it's a mindset. It touches your travel. It touches your kitchen. It touches how you think of everyday expenses. And so that's why I was so excited to have this conversation because how you think of money is brilliant, I think, because you're like you said, you're not longing, you're not wanting, you're very
Yeah.
strategic. So
Mhm.
curious, can you walk us through what your expenses look like for a typical 3-month stint in
Yeah.
Europe? And because I've had a couple episodes with people who are travel influencers, content creators, like I just want to say for everyone listening that you are not a travel
Mm.
influencer right now getting comp trips. So this is something that you're paying for like the rest of
Yes,
us.
100%. Yes, I have, and I won't ever, like, I have no plans to be a travel influencer. There's nothing in, yeah, that's not a thing for me. So, no, this all is paid for by us. So, yeah, okay. So, walking you through it. So, first of all, twice a month, $350 is put aside. So, $700 a month is put aside now into its own account. Now, the thing to keep in mind with that is that doesn't cover everything, like when we do that, but it's such a big chunk that it makes it feel less like oof when you start booking the tickets and the reserving your apartment and all of that stuff. And so I think that it doesn't have to be that you're putting aside. I mean, if you can, or if you want to, go for it. But for us, it just feels good to have like a nice chunk that we are like, okay, this is our pool of money, our little pot, right? So that's the first thing that I should say. Then the expenses would be the major one being the apartment. So we own our house here in Philly. We do not rent it out. That's something we've talked about, but we haven't moved in that direction. I don't know. We love our home a lot, and it I don't I don't know. I'm not there yet with this idea of just like having someone come in for 3 months and live there. I don't know that that will always be the case, but for now, we carry both our mortgage and our Europe rent over the 3-month period. But we left New York 7 years ago, and there were a few reasons, but one of them was to lower monthly expenses because we wanted to be able to do things like this. And so our mortgage is under $2,000 a month, which is wonderful, especially for living in the heart of a like, historic area of a city. But so we made that decision from having, I think we were paying like 3,600 a month in rent in New York before we left, and that was a big jump, or like a big drop, I should say.
And that was 7 years
That was
ago.
7 years
So
ago.
like,
Oh, yeah, right.
yeah,
I don't know what you all are
like
doing
more
now.
than doubled.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't wanna know. So, there's that, and then we try to keep our apartments around 2,500 US dollars a month, which we found is, depending on where you're going, you have to pick your cities this way too. You think about that when you're making your decision where you're going. It's pretty doable. So that's that. I mean, our flights. So our flights, we look for flights into like direct flights that are easy, and from Philly that there are a lot of flights, so they tend to be lower. So places like Lisbon, Madrid, like easy. And then we often, even if we're going to another city from there, we will often just fly into the main city that is, a cheaper flight. And then we'll take a train so this past winter, we flew into Madrid and then we took a much less expensive 2-hour train into Valencia. And Valencia, Spain is where we were spending our 3 months. So that was just, we compared prices, and we didn't want to do a second flight because it was more. So there's that. And the flights, I would say all in, it's usually like, I think it's about maybe 600 or 700 round trip each into the city. So let's say 1,400 in flights. We usually don't use miles for that because we like to take other trips and we try to apply miles to more expensive further flights. What else? So, I mean, food and groceries, instead of here, it's happening there. I will say it's cheaper
Right.
there. We always have sticker shock when we come back to Philly after being in Europe when it comes to groceries. One thing that happens is you tend to go out a bit more when you are in a new place. So our going out budget, we would increase. We are thoughtful about it and a bit strategic, but we do spend more. So I would say could easily spend in was probably maybe about 500 a month in just enjoying ourselves at like restaurants and stuff. We would go out to dinner more than we would here in Philly, but not like nutty, like, as if it were vacation. Because that's the other thing. If you're going to do something like this, something like 3 months, and you want to talk about like, the money, how we do this, one important thing is this mindset shift around reminding yourself that this isn't vacation, right? So you're not like booking tons of excursions. You're not going to every hot new restaurant that this city has to offer. Like you're strategic. You're picking and choosing a few things to do because it's not a vacation.
And I noticed too, when you're picking where you're staying, like in a neighborhood, you're not staying in like the tourist hub. You're usually, and it honestly is a win-win. You're often staying in a cool residential neighborhood or
Absolutely.
something where someone would want to live, and that changes the rentals you're able to find.
Absolutely. So, what a big part of it is doing your neighborhood research. So, I kind of look at it like if the center is like the place where all the tourists are and where all of the like the museums that you're probably going to visit and stuff are there. You start looking at the rings. How many rings out are you willing to be? And we try to pick something like a little bit, one or two rings out because we want to be able to still walk. We're walkers, and so keep walking, but being open to that walk might be 20 or 30 minutes instead of, 5 or 10 or 15. But yeah, and it feels better doing that too. You don't, the mayhem of the tourist hub, you just feel much more a part of the community and you get to, in 3 months, there was this little place in Valencia where we would go and have wine and tapas, and they were the loveliest people who owned it, and they would recognize us. And we, in that 3 months, we had that. Grocers recognize you. You like create those bonds and stuff, which is really nice.
I love it. And I just, I'm still not, I was like, can I do this math in my head? And I pulled up a spreadsheet because I'm not listening and doing math. So I really, yeah. But curious. So you mentioned that you're putting $350 aside twice a
Mhm.
month. So that, I actually did once a month. Okay. So right there, you have
Mhm.
$8,400 a
Right.
year that's set aside for this. Then you have $2,500 a month for the rental, 1,400 flights. We're at 8,900. So you're really, and curious, like you mentioned, groceries are
Mhm.
cheaper. You're dining out more. Does that cancel out? Or do you find you're still spending like maybe
Probably still spending a
a little
little
bit
bit
more?
more, right? Because this is the thing with like not making sure you're not living in that place of like longing ever either, right? And so you're
Right.
going to a place, you're spending 3 months there. You want to enjoy the place. If you spend your whole time in the apartment, like what's the point of being there, right? And so,
Right.
and the thing to remember is that this is you don't have a community there. So like at home, you can have social time by inviting your friends over. Everybody BYOs and maybe you order a pizza and hang out, right? And you can do that on the cheap. There you don't have that. So if you want to feel any social connection, you're going out. You have to go out and be amongst people. That will cost more money. So I would say I think
Right.
we still spent a bit more in our monthly output, but we're okay with that because we want to enjoy the place. And it's just it's a little bonus that the groceries are lower, so it helps to offset it a little bit, but we're still spending more.
So we're talking if it's like 8,900 flights in place, maybe like 9,500 to 10,000 for your trip.
Yeah, I would say
Does
that.
that sound
Yeah,
right?
I'm trying to I can't think of anything else additional that I wouldn't be spending when I just to be alive, like here, like in Philly. So I don't think I'm forgetting anything that would skew that in any way too big. Other than if there's like, one of the cool things about Europe in particular is just you can like be somewhere and then take a train to another town for the weekend, right? And that might not
Right.
happen as often in your home city. Like you might not do that as much, although you could, I guess, but people don't tend to. So we had a few of those too, like little weekends in like a small town in Spain, that kind of thing. So that's, those are weekend trips and that adds too, but it's not
Right.
outrageous. So
Right. And you already shared a lot of these, but any like as an avid traveler, experienced traveler, like any other hacks
yeah.
for those who want to afford to travel more? You mentioned transferring money year round, which I love. I'm obsessed with that. And then being like in an not like a 2 rings out town, treating it like you're living there, not doing all the hot restaurants, all the
Excursions.
excursions,
Right. Yeah.
etc. Yeah, but anything
Yeah.
else?
I would say so one thing that I like to do is I I have a bunch of recipes. So we cook a lot, right? So I have a bunch of recipes and I tend to write recipes so they're on recipe cards. But this year, what I did was I went through them before we left for Europe and I took photos of several of them that are nothing like fancy with ingredients and, nothing, no fancy equipment. And I put them on my phone in this folder so that when we were there, I had this like little, booklet on my phone of easy things to cook that I already know that we love, like we enjoy. That's why they made it to the recipe card to begin with. And it doesn't matter if there's not like some fancy blender situation that I need, like that's not there. And that really helps because when you're in a new place and you walk into a grocery store, everything's different, especially when you're an American going into a grocery store in another country. You can expect about a tenth of what you're used to finding in this, which I think, that could be a whole other podcast. But the point just being like, you can't go into this grocery store thinking like, well, I'm just going to make this XYZ thing that I make all the time at home because I bet you a whole bunch of that stuff is not going to be there. Right. So just this idea of
Right.
like preparing yourself in that way so that when you do walk into grocery stores being like, well, this is mostly veggie and I think I can find most of these veggies, like that kind of thing. So I would say that's another one.
That's a good one.
Also, in terms of booking your flights, so the second week in January is for the actual travel is a sweet spot. I think a lot of people know that, but it's just like it can be 30, 40%.
I
Oh, okay.
didn't.
All right. So it could be 30 to
Yeah.
40% cheaper because that second week of January it's like a quiet zone because this holiday season has just sort of come to a close and everybody's exhausted. And work travel isn't going to happen the week after that, so like there's this week. So we always fly out then. Obviously we're staying for a while, but that that's something that brings down costs if you can. But this is an example where like if you have kids, you probably can't fly. Probably can't leave for 3 months at that point. But maybe you can. I don't know. Situation.
And it's also when it's really cold where we are. So it's like a really nice, and the holidays are over. It's like a nice time to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. But I'm so glad you said that because something else with this tapping into this mindset and this idea that this is not a vacation. So we're going to southern Spain. I'm leaving from Philadelphia, which is in the northeastern region of the United States. So yes, it's cold here and it's warmer there at that time, but it's still winter. And so like, if I wanted to go and be on like some tropical beach for those 3 months, this would cost me 5 times that, right? Like and you have to be okay with that. So I remember like telling people, be like, oh, you're going to Spain? Like, oh my gosh, what's the weather going to be like? And I'd be like, well, it's going to be about 60 degrees to 63 degrees during the day, and it'll get into the high 40s at night. And they sort of look at me like, what the hell are you who cares? Why would you do that? And it's an improvement. It's not 20 degrees.
Huge
Yes.
improvement or 7.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Oh,
year.
yeah. You all got it this year. But yes, but it's not what societal expectations, other people's expectations. Like, well, if I'm going to leave in January and February, I want to be laying on a beach and, on a tropical island. I'm like, that's great. Do you have $25,000 to spend the next 3 months doing that? If you do, fantastic. But this is how
Right.
so I still had a coat with me. It wasn't my like to my ankles coat. I didn't have my earmuffs. I didn't have all that, but I wore a coat at night. So that kind of shift is important too.
Right. Not going when everyone wants to be.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And being okay with that feeling like, no, you're not leaving the winter for the beach. You're leaving the winter for something a
Right.
little bit warmer, but it makes it possible to live in Europe for 3 months, right? So,
Right. Yes, I love it. The mindset just follows us
yes.
through the conversation. Also I feel like it's fun if you're cooking, like repeat a lot of amazing recipes, to cook them with different ingredients in a different country is probably
Yeah.
fun. And I'm just, when you were like, be prepared, my last trip to Europe in the Netherlands, I thought I was getting peanut butter and I was getting peanut sauce. So I made like a peanut sauce and jelly sandwich. Like had more of a Thai flair.
Your kids are like, thanks, Mom.
Interesting. So yes, let's be
Yeah.
prepared can be really helpful. All right. So I would love to, if you're up for it, shift to
Mhm.
income, the money coming in that makes the lifestyle
Yeah.
possible. What are the ways you earn money? And can you share, like, what can you share as far as how much you earn and different income
Yeah, sure.
streams?
So you're catching me, as you know, at a time where I'm with wrapping up one business and starting to launch another. So my right now things are different than what they have been. I would say that up
Mhm.
until this point, I was bringing. So I run online businesses. So that's I should say that first of all, like that's a big part of this too. Like that I work remotely. My partner also works remotely, and so there is that flexibility. And we do work while we are over there. It's not as if it's 3 months of like vacation, like I said. So prior to this shift in what's the changes that I've been making with my career, it was about 140 of income from the business for me. And then now though, as I'm wrapping that up and I'm transitioning, my income has plummeted. I make under $100,000 right now. But what is important to like remember here is that we built this life in a way that either one of us could afford the lifestyle, the house, the car, whatever, on our own. That was important to me from the beginning. Like separate from this idea of being able to travel anywhere, it was like, I don't want to buy a house that if something happened and it was just me, that I would have to leave. Right. Like that was so not, I'm building my home and so we make, we make and have made decisions for so many years that have set us up in a way that we don't live we can live on one income, I guess is ultimately what I'm trying to say. And
Yes.
so not a lot has to change, but we have those conversations like if something does have to change, which I don't want to get off track. We can talk about that later, like the conversations that I have with my partner about that stuff. But so you were asking about income. So about 140, I'm below 100,000 now. That will not stop us if we have every intention of leaving again for 3 months next winter, unless something else is the reason why we don't. And so I don't know. What else can I answer about that? Was that the only question?
No, that, yes. And I think it's so inspiring because it allowed you to shift into a new business that you are passionate about without having to uproot everything that you've crafted as far as your
Right.
lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And can you tell us about the new
Yes.
business?
Thank you. It's the Midlife Creative Studio, and it is an online space for midlifers like myself who want to use creativity to have more fun in life, to support emotional health and well being, to just, play again in a way that we haven't since we were kids. And so it's very new, but we do little like live gatherings and we have an app and people come in and, part of the community and share what you're doing, doodling, drawing, creative journaling, that kind of thing. Just having fun again. So it's very new,
And
but
they're so fun.
it's
The
exciting.
classes are so fun. Yes. Yes. Highly recommend checking it out. And so the focus of the business is women in
Mhm.
midlife. Has your philosophy around money, spending, career changed as you've gotten older?
Yes. I would say that I was always like kind of thoughtful and slow. Like I never liked the word hustle, but as I've gotten older, it's like even more so. Like
Mm.
I'm shifting my business because I ran that online business or I continue to run it, but I started that in 2009 and I am not the same person I was then, right? Like a lot I've changed, I've evolved and my interest has changed and evolved and I don't care if the business that I launch now doesn't make me the same amount of money that that business was making. I'm okay with that, and I do the math around. Well, what do I need? What should be coming in, and then if there's more made, great. But I I don't. Money is not a driver in that way. I'm just sort of, like I said, slow about things. And I don't mean that, that doesn't mean that I don't have ambition, which I think a lot of people think is what I mean when I say that. And that's not
Mm.
true. It's very different. It's just how I go about what I want my business to look like, what I want my work to be. It's just, I take some real time again, think about how I want to feel, what I want this to be like. And the first business answered that, but it answered that when I was 29, 35, 40. I'll be 46 this year. And so my answer to that question is different. And so shifting that
Right.
business was important. So yeah. And I think also, I don't know. I think I've never been a like my spending. You asked if my age changed how I spend. I don't know that that has changed so much, but I've never been a like, stock my closet full of stuff spender to begin with. So I don't know that I can't think of an example of my money philosophy changing with age.
I love the separating of
Mm.
ambition from the enoughness. I think that so I could talk to you about everything for a very long time. But I still have a
Yeah.
few questions. So you have a wonderful partner,
Hmm.
Jim. We love Jim. He has also been your business partner. How do you two handle
Hmm.
money? Joint accounts, separate, hybrid, like,
Yeah.
I, yeah. And then I'm curious too, just those any conversations that you wished you had or that you had as you two got more serious, like, and
Yeah. So, yeah, I think people will be a little surprised. So, we are only joint accounts. And I know that most people, I shouldn't say that again, the most fact checkers, but a lot of
yeah,
people, a lot of people
we
are.
don't have them.
Okay, so, yeah. So we can say whatever we want.
It's great we're fact checking ourselves,
That's
though.
true.
Like that's pretty responsible. Yeah.
So I would just say that most of the conversations I have with friends or people like who are around my age, they either have completely separate accounts or they have like a single household joint account and then they each keep their own accounts and that kind of thing. We did not do that for whatever reason. I think I, there are a few reasons why that, we have always been in partnership and that I mean like, you know, we're very entrepreneurial. So like at one point he had a job and I was trying to get the business going and then the business was going well and then he wanted to start something. And so then he did this and then I did. So there was for so many years, especially in the early part of our relationship. And I should say we were very good friends before we became like life partners. So there was that too. But there was always like this give and take, like, okay, you go and work on that and I'll make sure things are covered here. And then flip, okay, you go
It's beautiful.
and so it just never occurred to us to do things separately. I don't know. I mean, we have one credit card and it's both of our credit cards. So I yeah, we don't do that. And I know that all of the, money savvies, all the financial femmes out there you've been teaching, it's like, prenup and, having these discussions and doing that thing. And we did not do that. But I don't know, maybe just luck that it hasn't been an issue. And
And it's beautiful the stepping in for each other with because that's something I always wonder about too with entrepreneurs together. Now he's in more of a full-time role, but like just the give and take and the letting each other experiment and grow
yeah.
and
Yeah, it's
that it makes sense a lot of times to think about it in a combined picture.
right, right. And for a long time, I mean, we built the last business, Start Fashion, we built that together. So it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, okay, one of us needs some income while the other one puts all their attention in here, right? And then it was like, okay, now that my side has gotten of this business, I've really laid a foundation. Now let me go find some income and you do your part, right? Like, and that was really how we built that business in the beginning. But we do, we have those conversations. So like I'm in this space now where I'm transitioning and while we're fine financially, we had the conversation like, okay, well, we put about $40,000 a year into continue to for retirement. We probably doing more at this point than we need to. And it was like, okay, well, if at any point things get a little bit like, oh, okay, well, we'll just drop that. We'll take a little bit more income until your new business is off the ground. So we had that conversation. Like, we'll be fine if that's what we have to do,
Right.
right? And yeah, so we do that, and then we're complete transparency. We both have every login, every account we both are on, so we can both see things. Nobody's in the dark about anything. And then we each have our roles on like how we like who manages the stuff. So like he tends to manage the bigger things like retirement stuff, and he'll like look if our HSA percentage goes down, he'll be the one to do the research and be like, "Oh, is there another high yield savings that's offering a promo and we can move our money there?" Whereas I mean, and all in conversation, we're both involved, but
Right.
he does that. And then I'm the everyday person. I look at the credit card and our expenses. Did we spend more this month? Did we not? Like, why do we need to be eating a lot of bean salads for in a couple of weeks because we like overdid it last month? He's fully aware, but I tend to make sure all of that's done. So it's very partnership.
Did that happen naturally, the roles, or did you say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to
It
do
just sort of
this," or you're
fell
naturally
into it. Yeah, I think he's like the best researcher, right? Like he's just we talk about this because I think your husband, mine,
I have
yeah,
one of those
exactly,
too,
right?
yeah.
And so I don't have that kind of patience, right? And he does, and he's good at it. And so it just sort of naturally, like you do that part. Like you find us the new account we should be
Yes.
in. I'm happy to make sure that our grocery bill wasn't super outrageous this year for no reason, or this month for no reason,
Right.
that kind of thing.
All right, and then because I don't wanna keep us so long, even though I do, but I would love to talk about gym
Yeah.
more. But we talked about your
Mhm.
home, like, you're not only the reno, but, like, you have incredible style.
Thank you.
Your home is beautifully decorated. You eat fabulous food. I know you are budget conscious. You're cooking a
Mhm.
lot, but it's like what you're eating is amazing. So, just curious about this lifestyle you've crafted, how much you're spending, how you make it work. I'm happy to go one by
Sure.
one, like
Yeah.
clothes, food, yeah, decor, but I think it's something that's very inspiring because I know it's done very cost consciously and strategically, but it's also
Yeah. Oh, thank
fabulous.
you. Yeah, sure. My whole work for decades, this business I had been talking about that I'm transitioning out of is in the fashion industry. So my background is in textile design. I des- design fabric and that kind of thing. So I'm in the world of fashion. And so I've always loved the craftsmanship of fashion. So I, for a very long time, have taken the approach with my personal style where the vast majority of what I spend is on a few pieces that are special. And I mean, the Everlanes and the Pacts and places like that, I'll get basic tees and that kind of thing, but I don't do a lot of it. I have navy, white, black, tan t-shirt. Like I'm very much like that. It's not a capsule by any means, but it's more like, okay, what do I need in my closet? I do that. And then where I spend more is on those special pieces, the ones that are made of hand-woven fabric or, embroidered or just something special. I buy things on my travels. I love that. So, yeah, I don't spend a lot. I don't shop often. I actually don't love shopping. It's not, because I think when I see something that I'm in love with, like, wow, that's so beautiful. That to me isn't shopping. It's like discovering a piece of art. And it's like, okay, I want that and I want to buy it. And I feel okay with it because I don't buy 40 different styles of jeans and have them all in my closet. I don't, have 27 different V-neck black sweaters. Like I just don't. So so that's how I approach style. Not afraid though to spend on the really beautiful quality things. I mean, within reason, there are like $600 blouses that I look at and I'm like, that's stunning, but I'm not spending that. Right. So I do,
Right.
keep myself reined in, but I do love really beautifully made things.
And how about is it a similar philosophy with how you decorate your home or
Yes. So, I mean, I think that part of it just is what my style is, which is I love old things. I love old things that have a story. So we take our time with filling the house. Most of the pieces of art or decoration are from our travels, either our individual travels before we were together or our travels, since we've been together. I mean, I have a wall in my house that has nothing on it. I've been in my house, it'll be 7 years in July, and the wall just doesn't have anything on it. And it's because I haven't found the thing that's going to go on that yet. I don't just go to the store and buy things to put in the house. And then even within like the furniture, like we will spend on what's important to us. So we love to cook. We love to have people over to eat and gather. So we had a really beautiful dining room table made from reclaimed wood. It cost us $4,000 for the table and the chairs. It's perfect and we love it. we have two mismatched couches that are smushy and I love them. And I just got some fun throw pillows that match so they tie in. And the two couches are not the same couch and I don't care. Right. So, like, like, again, it's like having that balance of stuff. We have this beautiful hand woven piece of fabric that we bought when we were in Indonesia hanging on our wall. We also have this little non-functioning, funky little teapot that we found at a flea market in Paris for a quarter. And that's on a shelf in our kitchen, right? So it's the same mix and match of things. And it all is just about how it makes me feel, you know, what's important to us and what's not. And the exactly matching couches doesn't matter to me. They're cozy and they're comfy. And I think about how they face each other, and I can have my friends over and we hug pillows and we talk for hours, right? Like, you've been one of those people, right? And it just feels good. So
It does feel so cozy and good. And then last thing, just
oh
food.
yeah, food.
You're always eating the best things. Like, and you mentioned you spend less when you're home, but you're always maybe always is the wrong word. How often are you going to the fun
Hmm.
restaurant? I know you're cooking so much, but you're finding really incredible recipes. Like, what does that philosophy look
Yeah.
like?
So I would say we probably go out 1 or 2 times a month. So it's not that much. The philosophy around that, though, and this is interesting because it's shifted recently, where we started to realize that we no longer care about going to a place that isn't special. And so by that, I mean, like, I live in an area where all kinds of new places are popping up. And, there's a cool new place. The vibes look cool. It's a pretty basic menu. Everybody's like, oh, they have a good burger. It's like a $28 burger, doesn't come with fries. And it's like, okay, I could go do that, whatever.
Hate that.
Or there's this Filipino place that opened up around the corner, and like, I will spend more there. It's the food is beautiful. That's where I'm gonna book a place and go. And I don't care anymore about checking out this new place that opened up where, people are liking to hang out. And it's interesting how that has shifted recently. It's like I canceled this last year. My birthday's in September, so it was last September. I canceled a reservation that we had made for a birthday dinner because I was just like, we'd never been to the place, but I was like, the menu looks nice. Like, oh yeah, that would be nice. I don't want to go. And instead, we like walked deeper into South Philly and we went to this amazing hole in the wall Indian place and had incredible food. We still spent money. It's amazingly crafted food, but it was just like much more interesting to me. So we've really shifted like how we think about where we want to go. And then in terms of our groceries, this is a place where we do embrace the little luxuries, right? Like, I think about what we're going to have, like what we want to cook, and I think about the ingredients accordingly. So, as an example, I have an amazing cheese shop near me. Their feta is like $18 a pound, but it's the most incredible, punchy, amazing feta. I could get it at the grocery store for probably $6 or $7 a pound. Depending on the recipe is depending on where I'm going. So if feta does not play a big role in this recipe, I'm just going to get the grocery store one and it's going to be fine. If feta is like, it's fattoush salad and it's just feta everywhere, I'm getting the good stuff, right? So really,
It's time to
exactly.
shine.
So finding the balance there. And also like looking for recipes. I love New York Times recipes. I think that they are just so well vetted. And then the more you cook, the more fun you can have with changing out ingredients, and I've gotten to the point where I understand flavor profiles. I understand how different ingredients work. And so it's like, oh, this sounds really good, but they want this, like, they want me to get this thing that's maybe super expensive or whatever. I'm like, I bet I can make it with this instead. But that takes practice. We have a friend who loves to switch out
Right.
things in recipes, but she's not there yet. So she's always saying, this isn't very good. And we know why.
Different to leave out 6
Right.
items
Exactly.
than swap wash strategic.
She's going to love this.
But we love you. Also, just calling out when you said our philosophy about choosing restaurants has changed to even have a philosophy,
Mm,
right? Like that is just like that's a whole different level of how you think. Like this is how we're thinking about it strategically. So many people will just go to the burger
right.
place
Because it's the
every week
new
because that's
spot.
what you
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't think it's just like this thoughtfulness and
Mm,
reflection of how we want to be choosing. And you're choosing restaurants that you enjoy more. So it's such a win-win.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to call that out because to even have the shift, you have to have a philosophy
Right.
around it. And that's pretty incredible. Curious, what are you working toward affording next?
I think we want to take the same approach that we did with our kitchen to our back patio. So as I mentioned, it's a tiny house in an old neighborhood. So we just have like a little concrete, like 15 by 15 patio. It's not very inspiring to be in. I put some potted plants out there, but it's like lacking the oomph. So we're going to do that same DIY. What do we want it to feel like? What elements are we willing to spend more on? Which are we going to not spend as much on? Like all that. And we want to do that for the patio. Yeah.
I love it. This was so much fun, Nicole, and so, so valuable. Thank you for giving us an inside look into how your beautiful brain works and thinks so that we can apply these wealthy mindset shifts to our own lives. Where can everyone find you and support your work?
Thanks. The midlifecreativestudio.com. Thank you.
Amazing. Check it out, sign up for classes, and thank you so much again.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to How Do You Afford This? If you loved this inside look into how people are actually affording their lives, follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We have new episodes dropping every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss them. And please share this with a friend. You'll get credit for introducing them to their favorite new podcast. Yes, I said it. And you'll be helping me on my mission to make crafting a wealthy life more accessible, more transparent, and a whole lot more fun. See you next week.